This episode's called One World, One People, and consider this your spoiler alert warning for everything that happens in this episode, and maybe even beyond. So the episode begins where the last episode left off, with the GRC building having been hacked, leaving the world GRC reps inside in different states of confusion. There's, alright, this is happening, I have no idea what's going on, and oh shit, it's Carly Morgenthau, and I just fired Captain America. So Sam and Bucky make their way to the GRC where they meet Sharon, who shows up in the same type of disguise that Black Widow used in Winter Soldier, and I've been waiting for that one to come back. The other ones are cool, but I always thought this one was the coolest. I just want to pause here on the character moment I really appreciated.
What's the plan?
And then Sam tells him the plan.
Keep your eyes open.
I call that progress, and it was a beautiful thing. Carly and the rest of the Flag Smashers are there too, plotting and scheming as they do. The plan is to take as many hostages as they can by threatening to kidnap different groups at multiple locations. Turns out Carly knew Sam would come and made contingency plans to divide him and Bucky basically by taking advantage of their belief that they can change her, which is something only the worst bad guys do, and also unruly teens, which is what Carly is. So Carly baits Sam into the building by threatening some civilians with some smoke bombs so that a helicopter full of hostages on the roof can get away. This sets the stage for Falcon to smash through the window in rhythm with his awesome Captain America theme music. Take note how Sam decides not to murder the Flag Smasher here, and it works out for him because the next words out of his mouth are
Captain America.
which then leads to this callback from episode 1.
I thought Captain America was on the moon.
But just then, Batroc the Leaper leaps out of the shadows. It turns out Carly sent Batroc the Leaper to slow Sam down, and this works out because he's upset that Sam cost him a lot of money.
You cost me a lot of money.
So long story short, they fight, but Sam just wants to
Get to the chopper!
that the Flag Smashers have kidnapped some of the GRC top brass with. So he does the coolest thing with the shield. Showing that his practice in the woods paid off, even though at that time he didn't have access to his wings, which I feel like that would make things kind of different. Actually, maybe this was the coolest thing he did with the shield. Outstanding. So anyway, Sam jumps out the window and flies away so he can
Get to the chopper!
We go back downstairs where Bucky marks the guy for Sharon,
There's one of them. I'll get the evac.
while Bucky attempts to keep the hostages in the building and out of the Flag Smasher's hands. But on the way there, Carly has this Kirsten Wiig lookalike hand Bucky a cell phone.
It's Carly.
Bucky, of course, tries to appeal to her better angels.
In the end, the nightmares won't go away.
You're gonna remember all the ones you killed.
Trust me.
But of course, this is just Carly taking advantage of the fact that Bucky doesn't want to kill her.
Well, thank you.
I'm glad you took my call. You've been a big help.
You didn't see that coming?
I'm sure everyone but Bucky saw that coming.
Seriously, Bucky, you had one job.
Sharon, meanwhile, doesn't have a problem with killing people and demonstrates this by killing a guy in a very gruesome way, which I'm pretty sure amounts to a war crime. Sharon isn't playing around anymore. She's got a business to run.
Well, that's one down.
Unlike when John killed a guy, in this case no one was around with a cell phone. I'm pretty sure the rules on war crimes are different when no one saw what happened. Sam meanwhile catches up to the helicopter, I'm gonna say it myself this time, and has new Red Wing reverse Google image search the hostages' Wikipedia pages to find out if any of them know how to fly a helicopter, and wouldn't you know it, and we find this out when Red Wing generates a cool graphic that I'm sure will be used in this lady's campaign for when she runs for president of the world. Then, when Sam has to save two pilots who lost control of their helicopter, he does what might be the coolest thing he did with the shield this episode. If Sam's new gear came with a manual, he read it. He then unfurls his wings to the delight of his growing fan base. But that's not why Sam's doing this, so he splits. Sam flies down from the heavens carrying Carly's dead body looking like the Angel of Mercy, where he meets a throng of people who have cameras and microphones so everyone on the planet can both see and hear him.
Are you still going forward with resetting the borders?
Sam chides the GRC brass for referring to the Flag Smashers as terrorists. He tells them it's just a matter of perspective, man, and the GRC folk are making no attempt to understand what the other side wants.
Who's in the room with you when you're making those decisions?
To those guys, the GRC brass are the terrorists, but neither side wants to listen to the actual issues. They simply want to focus on the tactics each side uses. And then the GRC guy talks about logistics.
You have no idea how complicated this situation is.
And Sam just tells him to figure it out.
You can feed 1 million people with a phone call.
You people have just as much power as an insane god or a misguided teenager. The question you have to ask yourself is, how are you going to use it?
And this is where I think the rumored abandoned pandemic subplot really hurt the show. I mean, I agree with what Sam's saying here, but man, Carly did a lot of bad things. The show depicts the Flag Smashers as being really popular, and that their fans around the world are inspired by their violent acts. The way everything went down on the show, the popularity of the Flag Smashers really didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, they don't deserve my respect. They killed people, and they were trying to kill more. They killed Lamar. I mean, being kicked out of your house is bad, but murder people bad? But if the Flag Smashers believe that the GRC was responsible for both manufacturing a pandemic and withholding the vaccines to people like them, I might be a bit more sympathetic to their cause. Mamadonia's death could have been tied more directly to the GRC withholding aid. And that was the subplot that was abandoned for obvious reasons. And while I do agree with Marvel Studios' decision to nix it, I think it hurt the show in the end. Director Kerry Scoglin has come out and said that any rumor of an abandoned pandemic subplot is false. I think the rumors are true, they're just not allowed to say anything. I see it as kind of noble because they're telling everyone that they put their best foot forward, but I think they were hampered a little bit. So then Zemo's old man Butler blows up some Flag Smashers. We see Zemo in his cell at the raft taking in the news. Then we go to Val, who says that maybe she had a hand in the bombing. She's very nebulous on this point. I mean, it's entirely possible that they were working together, and maybe they'll work together again in the MCU's version of the Thunderbolts. The MCU is certainly going in that direction, what with Zemo being locked up at the raft, which is supervised by one General Billy Thunderbolt Ross. We see John wear a comics-accurate version of his US agent costume, which looks really cool, and it looks like Wyatt Russell has basically developed the character into Judge Reinhold.
Copy. Thank you.
And I say, why not? I think it would be a lot of fun to watch a superpowered, morally ambiguous Judge Reinhold type wreaking havoc in the MCU. We get Bucky taking Sam's advice and giving people on his list closure. It's a very difficult thing he's doing. And it was kind of tough to watch too, but Bucky has to go through this to move on with his life. He's giving the people on his list closure and helping them move on with their lives too. Sam goes to visit Isaiah Bradley, and it looks like Sam's finally breaking through with him, which is quite a feat based on what Isaiah's been through. He takes Isaiah and his grandson to a museum exhibit dedicated to Isaiah that lays it all out. The achievements, the lies, the betrayal, the cover-up. To fix anything, you've got to give yourself an honest assessment of what you've got, and this exhibit is a right step in that direction. It was a really cool scene as Sam finally convinces Isaiah that a black man can be Captain America, that America is worth fighting for, even with all the baggage. And that's really what this entire series was all about. Just laying it all out there, the good and the bad, seeing what you've got to work with, and then working to make it better. And that theme remained consistent throughout the series despite the herky-jerky nature of the plot. At the beginning of this series, Sam didn't think the job of Captain America was for people like him, a black man in America. But by the end, Sam realizes he's the best guy for the job because he's a black man in America. And I think America agrees. They announced a movie with the same writer, and hopefully their creativity won't be hammered by external events beyond their control this time. Just laying it all out there, the good and the bad, seeing what you've got to work with, and then working to make it better. And that theme remained consistent throughout the series despite the herky-jerky nature of the plot. At the beginning of this series, Sam didn't think the job of Captain America was for people like him, a black man in America. But by the end, Sam realizes he's the best guy for the job because he's a black man in America. And I think America agrees. They announced a movie with the same writer, and hopefully their creativity won't be hammered by external events beyond their control this time. Just to wrap things up with the series, as I said before, I felt the show worked very well on a thematic level. We learned a lot more than we did about these characters, we got to see them in different situations, and saw a bunch of strong character moments. The Flag Smashers were kind of bland as the main baddies, but taking into account all the obstacles Marvel had to deal with during filming, I feel like the show they ultimately put out was pretty solid. Well, that's all I got for this week. I'm gonna try to do a weekly recap show for the upcoming Loki series, because I love Marvel Studios so much, and a little birdie told me that they love me too. That's all I got for now, and until next time, this is Into the Michaelverse. Out.